So I decided to save the best property for last. This is my favorite one because when you mastered this property, you can actually multiply huge numbers together in your head very quickly. So this is called the distributive property. So make sure you have your notes out and that you are writing this with me. So distributive. Okay, the distributive property states that to multiply a sum or difference by a number, so sum is again when you're adding, difference is when you're subtracting, by a number, multiply both numbers of the sum or difference by the number on the outside of the parentheses. Mine's going to look a little bit different because when I type it kind of made it look weird, but that's okay. So make sure you get this down. Distributive property states that to multiply a sum or difference, so adding or subtracting by a number, multiply both numbers of the sum or difference by the number on the outside of the parentheses. Now, that seems like really confusing when you first hear it, but I swear it's going to be really easy when we start doing this. So, for example, we have a number on the outside of parentheses, and if you remember, a number on the outside of the parentheses means multiplication. We're going to do something different, though. Instead of adding 7 plus 8 and getting 15 and then multiplying it by 5, we're going to take that outside number, the 5, and multiply it by both the numbers on the inside of the parentheses. So that means 5 times 7, which I wrote here, and then 5 times 8, which I wrote here. And then you add those two numbers together. So 5 times 7 is 35, 5 times 8 is 40. Add these together and you get 75. This is the same answer you would get if you just did 5 times 15, but this is a way of doing it in your head. Okay, the distributive property is very helpful when multiplying single-digit numbers by double-digit numbers. So for example, we are going to rewrite regular multiplication by the distributive property, and you'll see how you can eventually do stuff like this in your head. So for example, 8 times 54. You're going to take that double-digit number and break it up by tens and ones place value. So that means the 8, the single-digit number, goes on the outside of the parentheses, and the 54 is going to be broken by tens and ones place value. So 54 can be written as 50 plus 4. If you notice, 50 plus 4 is 54. So I'm not changing anything at all, really. I'm just writing it differently. Now I'm going to do 8 times 50 right here, 8 times 4, and you would add them to two answers together. So 8 times 50 is 400. 8 times 4 is 32. Add them together, 432. So you're always going to break up the double-digit number by place value, and typically it's tens and ones place values. So let's try these. We're just breaking up numbers by place value. That's all we're doing. So 98, I broke it up as 90 plus 8. 24, if we're doing it by place value, would be 20 plus 4. 75, 70 plus 5. They all have to add to the original number. 41, 40 plus 1. You want to do it by tens place value and ones place value because it makes it way easier when you go to do your multiplication. So now let's apply this with the distributive property. Say we have 7 times 24. Take that single digit number, put it on the outside of a pair of parentheses. Now we know how to break up 24. 20 plus 4. Now you're going to multiply 7 times 20 and 7 times 4 and add the two answers together. So that's 140 plus 28, which equals 168. This works with algebraic expressions too, but only if the problem is already set up for you. Remember, algebraic means a math expression with at least one variable or letter. So this one's already set up for us. They have a 7 on the outside and they have x plus 5. We don't know what x stands for, but we're going to do it the same way. 7 times x, 7 times 5, and add them together. 7 times x is just 7 times x because we don't know what x is. 7 times 5 is 35. Put a plus sign between them, 7x plus 35. That's your final answer. We don't know what x equals, and we cannot add 35 and 7 together because this is being multiplied to a letter, so we can't just change the problem. There's an order of operations. So you cannot add a constant and a coefficient together. So let's try this one. It says 3 times y plus 2. So I always draw these little arrows. I think it helps out. So I'm going to be multiplying 3 times y. I don't know why that's so little. And then 3 times 2. See if I can change that color to something we can actually see. So that's going to give me 3 times y, which is 3y. 3 times 2, which is 6. There's a plus sign in the problem, put a plus sign in the middle. So 3y plus 6 is your final answer. Again, do not add the constant 6 with the coefficient 3. You can't add constants and coefficients. You can also have more than 2 numbers on the inside like this. So 4 times x plus 5 plus 4. I could simplify this and I can add 5 and 4 together to give me 9. So now I have this problem. Now I'm going to do 4 times x, 4 times 9, which I have written here. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 9 is 36. There's a plus sign in the middle, so put it in between the answers. So 4x plus 36. So I want you to pause and try this one and then press play to see how you did. Okay, so if you're watching this, that means you already attempted this one. So let's see what we did. So commutative property, I can add the 2 numbers together. So 8 plus 4 is 12. And then I'll just put plus w. So I'm just rewriting this inside the parentheses. Put the 5 still on the outside. So all I did was just add 8 and 4 together to make it a little bit simpler. Now, multiply the outside number by everything on the inside. 5 times 12 is 60. 5 times w is 5 times w, because we don't know what w is. Plus sign in the middle, put it in the middle. If you did w plus 12 here and you got 5w plus 60, that's the same exact thing, so don't worry, you got it right. Okay, so let's take a look at some from the book. So use a distributive property in mental math to find 8 times 53. So watch me do this one. Don't do it, just watch me, and then I'll give you one to try. So a single digit number goes on the outside of a pair of parentheses. I want to split up 53 using my place values, 10s and 1s. 50 plus 3 is using my 10s and my 1s, and that adds up to 53. So now I set up the problem. Now I'm going to solve it. 8 times 50, which is 400, and then 8 times 3, which is 24. And then there's a plus sign in the middle, so I bring it down, add them together. 400 plus 24 is 424. So the single digit goes on the outside of a pair of parentheses. You break up the double digit number by place value. Then you multiply that 8 by everything on the inside and add the 2 answers together. So let me give you one of these to try. Okay, so you were going to try this problem. So put the 6 on the outside of a pair of parentheses. Break up the 82 using your 10s and 1s, and then distribute that 6 to the 80 and the 2. See if you could solve it. So pause and try this one. This is what I'm checking. Try these 3 as well. Same exact thing. So you're going to put the single digit number on the outside of a pair of parentheses, break up the double digit number by 10s and 1s place value, multiply everything by the outside number, add your 2 answers together. So pause and try these 3. These are another 3 I'm going to be looking for. Now we're going to try it with the algebraic expressions. Okay, so they're already set up for you, so this takes away one of the steps that you have to do. So you multiply the outside number by everything on the inside. So 4 times n is 4 times n. 4 times 5 is 20. There's a plus sign in the middle, so put a plus sign in the middle. Now this time you cannot add a constant with a coefficient, so that is your final answer. Let's try this one. 12 times 2y. So 12 times 2 is 24. Keep the y with it. Now this time you're able to multiply this because, so the reason why is you can multiply coefficients and constants, but you cannot add them. So up here you can't add these because it's one's a coefficient and one's a constant, but when it comes to multiplying, you can. A little bit confusing, but you can. So now I'm going to bring down my subtraction sign. 12 times 3 is 36. Okay, so I have 24y minus 36. That's my final answer. So you can multiply coefficients and constants. You cannot add or subtract them. So that's my final answer. Last one here. 9 times 6 is 54. I'm going to bring down the plus sign. 9 times x is 9 times x. Bring down the plus sign. 9 times 2 is 18. Now this one's a little bit different. You have a couple of numbers that are just constants. You're allowed to add those. So you can add the 54 and the 18. So when you're going to do that, you're going to get 72. And then, so your final answer will be 9x plus 72. So you can add constants anytime you want. You cannot add constants with coefficients. So I can add 18 and 50